Benfica is absolutely massive. If you know, you know. Well, PSG and Spurs have a similar pedigree in the Champions League now, don't they? Lots of similarities we'll get into. Welcome, by the way, I'm Adrian, and thanks for joining me. If you're new here, well, you know what to do. And you know what we're doing already, probably. This is the UCL this week, or recap or something. I don't know what this is called. Who am I? I mean, this tie was all but over after the first leg. When you look at Club Brugge's recent form, or lack thereof, up against Benfica's form, plus you factor in how Benfica hadn't lost once in the previous 22 home second legs in European competitions, it was all but over. And thankfully, that wasn't just a pipe dream. Benfica performed at a level to match their dominance. There was no miracles here. They were able to get the goals to match their dominance, really. João Mario started things off with a great goal almost immediately, a beauty 3 minutes in, but it was called back. It took a while from there, but 30 minutes later, Rafa Silva had a nice little outside of the boot finish to get things started before a brace from Gonçalo Ramos killed this game and this tie completely. I mean, like I said, it was dead already, but Benfica just wanted to make extra sure. João Mario with the penalty, maybe should have given that to Gonçalo Ramos. Then Neres making it 5-0. And then Maier scored the goal of the entire match. A consolation goal for Club Brugge, but Bjorn Maier striking to the top corner was fantastic. So 7-1 Benfica on aggregate, and that cost Parker his job as he had just, I think, a 16% win rate. 2 wins from 12 matches, inexcusable. So Chelsea get it done in the end. 2-0 at home against Borussia Dortmund, and they looked good value for it, as Dortmund, across both legs, never looked like they were at their best, did they? Chelsea, on the other hand, well, they weren't exactly flying when it comes to their finishing, far from it. Their overall play was superior to Dortmund, the way that they would carve them open at times. The goal that Havertz scored in the first half, the one that was disallowed, what a strike. I was screaming. I mean, you know why. It had nothing to do with who scored it. It's those damn bar down beauties that just, I can't get over. Unlucky for Havertz there. But they would get some fortune from misfortune as Sterling mishit the ball, but it became the perfect touch for him to then emphatically smash it past Maier into the goal. 1-0, 1-1 on aggregate. Chelsea would continue their dominance in the second half and win a penalty from Wolf, Mr. Wolf's handball. Some people didn't like it, but when your arm is away from your body even just a little bit, I know it's not that far away, but it's technically not glued to his side, it's a penalty. The referee didn't call it at first, but he got it right in the end with the VAR. Havertz is cursed. He scores an absolute beauty, taken away. He hits the woodwork. Then later, he takes the penalty, and he hits the woodwork. It just doesn't get any easier for... Oh, wait. He got a second crack at it. While it was frustrating for Dortmund, by the letter of the law, it deserved to be retaken, as you can see by reading the rules right here, my friend. If a teammate of the goalkeeper offends through their encroachment, they're going to retake it. I would like to say every time, but the referees are incredibly inconsistent, which is what makes it frustrating, even though it shouldn't be. If a player from the same team encroaches and they score, then it is retaken. It should be retaken. Since both teams had players encroaching, given Havertz missed, it was retaken. If Havertz had missed and Dortmund players hadn't encroached, it wouldn't have been retaken. If Havertz scored and Chelsea players had encroached, it would have been retaken, or at least it should be. But again, it's rarely called, which is what makes it so frustrating. So it was the right call, if not a bit tough to swallow for Dortmund supporters, as it, again, isn't usually called. It's very inconsistent. It's one of the most inconsistent things in football, alongside whether keepers really do have 6 seconds to hold on to the ball, whether you actually can grapple onto players during set pieces. Apparently you can, you know, but technically you can't. And so when it's called, it seems weird, even though it shouldn't be, because it's actually the rules, you know? This time, Havertz converted. The same penalty, the same stutter step, the same side, but this time it was just inside the post rather than off of it. Considering his stunner was taken away from him and how hard it's been for him lately, I was happy to see him get that goal on a human level. From there, Borussia Dortmund finally began to push for an equalizer, which bothered me a bit. I didn't like their approach, as they were too happy to absorb pressure and not really do anything going forward for about an hour. And then when they needed to score, when they were in trouble, suddenly they were capable of, carving out chances for themselves and actually taking the play to Chelsea. Bellingham almost equalized immediately. I can understand it in a sense, as Terzic didn't want his team to get exposed by Chelsea's counter, but it's always frustrating to see that, isn't it? A team not show up until they have to, when it's too late. Koulibaly was dominant. That was perhaps the best performance I've seen from him for Chelsea. He was winning everything: aerial duels, ground duels, out-muscling, out-sprinting people when needed. It was a fantastic performance from him, as well as he truly stepped up in the absence of Thiago Silva. He missed that sitter, but take nothing away from him and from Fofana as well. He made some crucial tackles and interceptions. Across the two matches, as I said, Chelsea were deserving of advancing. They looked the better team than Dortmund, or at least the more dangerous team in that second half, and they were very, very good in London. If you're Dortmund, perhaps you look to the fact that two of your attackers in Adeyemi and Brandt missed the second leg with injury, though Chelsea could say, hey, we're missing players like Thiago Silva too. If I had wheels, I'd be a bicycle. Well, I mean, this one wasn't really a surprise, was it, guys? I guess there were reasons to believe that perhaps Tottenham could get through here. Tottenham have been mostly fantastic when playing at their own stadium, though they can only ever be described as inconsistent overall. AC Milan, they had a nice run of wins recently and clean sheets as well that broke them out of their horrible, horrible start to 2023. They made a formation change. They got Maignan back in goal. And then they lost to Fiorentina this past weekend, a Fiorentina side that is comfortably struggling mid-table in Italy. Sure, they play better football than their results would have you assume, but still, Milan had no business losing to them in that match, as it was just another poor result for them this season. However, this is Tottenham we're talking about, and this is Antonio Conte in the Champions League. Unfortunately for Conte, as brilliant as he can be at winning domestic trophies, he is not a manager that can win on multiple fronts, and he has built up a very, very unfortunate Champions League knockout round record. The last time he won a Champions League knockout match, 2013. It's been a decade since he last won a Champions League knockout match. That's crazy. You want another record that was broken? The last time that Tottenham had a 0-0 draw at home across all competitions was back in 2017, 147 matches ago. That's insane. And yes, the 0-0 draw was what transpired here. Tottenham were not looking good. Neither side was looking good at all in this match. To paint a picture for you, after 45 minutes, each side had 2 attempts and neither of them managed to hit the target. They racked up a gargantuan 0.10 XG each. In the second half, while AC Milan began to trouble the Spurs back line, while Spurs tried to commit more bodies forward to bring this tie level, Tottenham didn't start to perform until Romero got himself sent off for a second yellow card, again performing when it's too late. In the end, Mike Maignan had to make an incredible save on Harry Kane, diving low on the line to keep it out. Tomori was a beast at the back for them, while Spurs were toothless. AC Milan advanced to the quarterfinals for the first time since 2012. There is the history of Tottenham, and just as prominent is the history of PSG in the Champions League. Both teams tend to bottle it. Both managed to make a Champions League final in the last 4 years. Both teams tend to struggle no matter the resume of the manager at their disposal. Both have been managed by Pochettino. Enough of the parallels. Bayern looked very much in control against PSG as the Parisians were without Neymar, and prior to the match, Galtier actually spoke about how that could potentially make them much more balanced. Perhaps it did, but the net outcome was that they weren't great defensively and they weren't great in the attack, so I guess perfectly balanced as all things should be. Defensively for PSG, I thought that Sergio Ramos was great. He was rolling back the years as he was everywhere for them, winning aerial duels, looking like the only threat in the attack thanks to set pieces, stepping into the midfield to win the ball when he needed to. Even when he stepped forward and didn't win the ball, he made recovery runs to stop Bayern's attack. Out of everyone on the pitch for PSG, Sergio Ramos is the only one who can look back on that match and not really feel any shame. Maybe Danilo as well. As for PSG's attack, and this is where you credit Bayern's defense, Messi and Mbappe, what did they do? Besides the half chances they had in the first half, there wasn't much from either of them. Mbappe from a tight angle, Messi tried to stuff the ball during a scramble in the box. Sommer had to make just one big save in this match. And speaking of, the ghost of Neuer consumed Sommer in the first half, and he nearly gifted PSG a goal, but De Ligt tracked back to clear Vitinha's attempt off the line. Good play from De Ligt and Upamecano all match. And Stanisic as well. Stanisic and Upamecano on the right shut it down. Not to mention Davies and how he controlled his side of the pitch, overcoming Hakimi time and time again on the dribble, while not losing out to him defensively either. Not to mention that goal-saving tackle he had on Mbappe and one on Messi as well. He's been calm. Speaking of gifting goals from earlier, Verratti did exactly that for Bayern with not one but 2 goals. The first, a man was playing with his food, caught with his pants down, take your pick, but whatever you pick, that happened on the edge of the box. 2 passes later, and Choupo-Moting made it 1-0 on the night, 2-0 on aggregate. Marco wasn't done there though, as he later would give up the ball to Bayern in the midfield, which would lead João Cancelo to spring a counter, putting the ball into the path of Gnabry to beat Donnarumma. Decent placement, but look, this isn't Italophobia or anything. All of my in-laws are Italian, but Verratti and Donnarumma on this goal, guys, this kind of performance will have you missing a third World Cup in a row. Verratti with the giveaway, and then Donnarumma goes down early. Maybe Gnabry scuffing his finish messed him up, but Gigio was laying on the floor before the ball even passed him. He was on the floor waving at it. But yes, 2-0 Bayern, 3-0 on aggregate, PSG looking limp, looking feeble, looking Spursy, and Bayern, I mean, they dispatch of them easily, even if they aren't at their best. So there you have it, guys. Chelsea, Benfica, AC Milan, and Bayern are through, while PSG, Spurs, Dortmund, and Brugge will focus on domestic matters. We'll do this again next week. Beyond that, I have a player bio for you tomorrow, which I'm excited to get out. So we'll see you then. Ciao.